Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to our channel. Grab a cup of coffee or tea and let's dive into today's video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. It's a simple gesture that would be immensely helpful, and your subscription means a lot to us. Knowing that you're a part of our community motivates us to put the hard work into creating these videos. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into today's video. At 4:45, my usual alarm time, I found myself already awake, a recurring pattern lately. Rest hadn't come easily for months. The bedroom window framed darkness, a regular sight upon waking. Sunlight seemed like a distant memory. Work commenced at 6 sharp every day, rain or shine. The silver lining, I clocked out by 4, ensuring I never missed a moment of my girls' activities. Deep the morning quiet, I opted for the whole bathroom shower, mindful not to disturb my wife's sleep. She'd barely stir until the last possible moment, needing to be out the door by 6. At 5, my daughters followed suit, sharing the same bathroom routine, timed to perfection. Post-shower, I encountered Maria, my first daughter, in the hallway. A kiss on her half-asleep cheek accompanied her groggy shuffle toward the bathroom. A peek into Tara's room warranted a groan in response to my morning greeting. 5 minutes later, dressed and prepared, I embarked on the daily ritual of preparing breakfast. It had become an unchanging routine. Coffee brewed, scrambled eggs sizzled on the pan, toast crisped, and yogurts awaited the girls. At 15 and 16, they were capable of handling it themselves. Yet, my involvement had dwindled to this small gesture. The days of being their hero had given way to embarrassment at having a dad like me. Post-breakfast, a final check ensured Tara was up. I'd bit a kiss on Erin's forehead, despite her faint slumber, and left the garage weighed down by the distance that had grown between me and my family. The most painful realization, I hadn't provoked it. They'd simply grown disdainful and ashamed of my job. I was a sanitation worker. When I landed the job after high school, I'd been thrilled. It paid better than what many of my college graduate friends earned. Initially, I saw it as a temporary gig until I found something in the trades. But discovering it was a union job with benefits akin to trade roles made me stick with it. I knew lacking a degree meant corporate climbs were out of reach, and oddly, I was okay with that. After 25 years on the job, I had a solid pension, a decent wage, stellar benefits, and a mere 5 years to cruise into retirement at 50. Then things would change. I'd claim my full pension and have the freedom to pursue anything I desired. Back when I met Erin, she was hustling through college as a waitress. We fell in love, got hitched, and life was a blend of joy and challenges for the next 16 years. But then, the unthinkable happened. My family began to pull away. I vividly recall that moment. At Tara's softball game, a fellow dad inquired about my profession. When I mentioned I worked as a garbage man, his expression contorted before erupting into laughter, assuming it was a joke. My wife and daughter caught wind of his reaction, and that marked the start of my descent. For the first time, they were ashamed of me. It's not like I returned reeking of refuse. I drove the truck and hardly had to step out anymore. Mechanical arm did the lifting in the residential areas I serviced. It had been years since I had handled the tough part. Sure, there were rough patches, but it wasn't all grim for a long while. I even showered at the yard before heading home every day. My family never voiced complaints. They never concealed my job from our friends. It was just work, no different than if I were a carpenter or a carpenter. From that moment, everything changed. Shortly after, my wife snagged a promotion to management at the bank where she worked. The raise that came with it only widened the gap between our incomes. It didn't bother me. I was proud of her success, but I suppose it bothered her. She started dressing fancier and splurging on jewelry. I didn't mind. At 42, she still looked stunning, and I enjoyed seeing her dressed up. Those skirts accentuated her long legs, and the heels, well, they did wonders for her. She also began lavishing our daughters with more gifts. That might have been the final straw after the incident. Their attitude toward me changed completely. They practically worshipped their mother, going above and beyond. I hoped it was a phase, but hope dwindled fast. My girls used to be all about their daddy. I coached their teams, played dolls, hosted tea parties, and even let them paint my nails and style my hair during our salon sessions. I never felt embarrassed by any of it, even when Erin posted the pictures online. I figured it was just what dads did for their little girls. I arrived home from work at my usual time to a quiet house. My wife wouldn't be back for another hour, and the girls might trickle at any time between 1 to 3 hours later, depending on their after-school plans. I wandered into the kitchen to start dinner and spotted a note on the table. "Running late, dinner with my team." I sighed, wishing my wife had mentioned it that morning. I might have caught a beer with the guys after work. Turning to the fridge, I found a note from Tara. "Staying over at Jenny's." "Another Friday alone?" I muttered to Fido, my cat. Sure, it was a silly name, but it made my girls laugh when we got him. I'd do anything to hear their giggles again. It hit me. I couldn't recall the last Friday Aaron had been home. There was always something. Team dinners, girls' night out, manager meetups at bars, always some excuse. The idea of an affair crossed my mind. She walked in at 10, seemingly sober. I, on the other hand, wasn't. I'd spent the evening drowning my sorrows in Jack Daniels. "Hey," I slurred. "Nice of you to show up." "Are you drunk, Bill?" she asked. "Probably." Didn't have much else to keep me sober. "Have you eaten?" I nodded and downed the last of my whiskey. "You're unbelievable." I pulled another glass, raising it to her mockingly. Just meeting expectations." She shook her head. "Sleep on the couch. I don't want you getting sick on me tonight." "Yes, dear." The next morning, voices pierced through my groovy state. Sunlight filtering in shocked me. I must have passed out because the empty glass still clung to my hand, resting on my thigh. Consciousness slowly returned as the voices grew clearer. "Even if you were seeing someone else, he's still our dad," Tara's voice whined. Their assumption that I was too far gone to hear them echoed in the kitchen. "I'm not cheating on him, Jason, and I haven't gone that far," came Aaron's voice. "Yet," Maria sighed. "Girls, we've outgrown your father." "We need more than a garbage man," Aaron asserted. "Jason can give us a comfortable life. Get us out of this matchbox house." "It doesn't sit right," Maria argued. "Dad may embarrass us, but he's not a bad father." "He was a decent husband, too," Tara chimed in, momentarily earning my pride. "You're in no position to talk," Aaron retorted. "You didn't even tell him about tennis. He'll be upset when he finds out you're too ashamed to have him at your games." Tara laughed. "Come on, Maria, you've said it yourself. You hope he never finds out about tennis or your boyfriend, Mike." "You need to let me work my plan," Aaron pushed. "When Jason and I are together, we'll be better off. You want good colleges and grand weddings, right?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My daughters were hiding their lives from me, and my wife was plotting to leave. I closed my eyes, feigning sleep, unable to face any more hurt. "Get ready. We're leaving in 10, Aaron ordered. It felt like the longest wait. As the garage door shut, I peered out the window, watching them drive away. It was the saddest moment. My girls were ashamed of me. Aaron's plans to move on stung, but my daughter's betrayal tore me apart. I showered and contemplated leaving, but settled for grabbing a meal. Despite the hangover, I knew I had to eat. Thoughts of fleeing crossed my mind, but the idea of spending on a motel deterred me. I could crash on the couch, feeling just as lost. I strolled into the local family restaurant and settled at the bar. Despite being irregular, the sight of a striking redhead behind the counter caught me off guard. "What can I get you?" she chimed. "Black coffee, please." "My usual's biscuits and gravy with over-easy eggs on top, and a side of bacon," I replied, turning over my cup. "Sounds tasty. I'll remember that." "It's my first week," she said with a wink, introducing herself as Melody. "I'm Bill." She sauntered away, and I couldn't help but appreciate her figure in those black leggings. They ditched the traditional waitress skirts here. Throughout my meal, Melody served up more than just food, a hint of flirtation that I knew was probably just for a better tip. Being a married man, I kept my responses friendly, but distant. As I got ready to settle my bill, a little girl caught my eye behind the register, busy coloring. She sat in the booth where the owner typically perched, engaging in a playful crayon war with him. "Got another addition to the family, owl," I teased. He chuckled. "That's Melody's kid. Her sitter's out sick today." "You seem to have it handled," I remarked. "You know me, Bill. Sent 2 through college, lost 2 through the window," he joked, quoting an old movie line. We shared a laugh. I settled my bill, and leaving the restaurant, I strangely felt lighter. A bit of banter from Melody had lifted my spirits more than I'd expected, opting to distract myself from family woes and thoughts of Melody's rear. I decided to head home and tackle the yard work. I was halfway done mowing the backyard when I saw my wife calling to me. I ignored her, pretending I didn't care or see her. The sunglasses and loud noise from the mower helped. She finally gave up after a few minutes. I wasn't prepared to deal with her. I still had no idea what I was going to do. I was leaning towards pulling a runner and taking all our money, but we didn't have enough money for me to live on until I retired. I just have to figure out how to inflict the most damage to her in the divorce. If she wanted out, she could get out. I hoped I could get the house and let her move in with her lover boy. I figured she'd take the girls with her the way it sounded. When I finished, I sprayed the grass off my lawnmower with a garden hose and pulled the bags of grass clippings beside the garage. I took as much time as possible, trimming and edging, and when I was done, I liked the way everything looked. I decided against using the trimmer on Aaron's flowers. I figured I'd just have to replant them down the road. Tara bounced out of the house and asked, "Daddy, can you drive us to the movies? We're going to see Barbie with some friends." I wondered if one of the friends was that boyfriend Maria was hiding from me. "No," I barked. "I'm busy." "Daddy," she moaned. "Mom's going to some play and can't drive us." My head snapped over. "Who's she going to the play with?" Tara looked scared and stuttered. "I don't know. You'll have to ask her." I went back to sharpening my mower blade and said, "Whatever." "Dad, what about the movie?" She begged. "Ride your bikes or get a ride from someone else." "I'm busy." She stood there for a few moments as I continued to ignore her presence. I'm sure her face was shocked expression. I didn't always say yes to her, but I never said no to her like that. Things were going to change from that moment forward, and she'd need to get used to it. Every man for themselves, I figured. I heard the garage's side door slam and shook my head. The big door was open and she could have just walked back out, but she couldn't slam that one. 20 minutes later, my wife stormed into the garage, donning a little black dress. I was knee-deep in changing the oil of her car, and she was seething. "What in the hell are you doing to my car?" "I need to get to the play," she yelled. "What play? You never mentioned any play." "I just started changing the oil," I replied. "For God's sake, I tried to get your attention while you were mowing the lawn. Cheryl, my colleague, has tickets to Wicked and her husband's sick. I'm going with her." "Well, I should be done in about an hour." I fibbed. "An hour? The guys at Jiffy U get it done in 20 minutes. "Sure, but this ain't Jiffy U, is it?" "Takes me a bit longer," I retorted. She glanced at the engine with a protruding funnel and the air filter set aside before storming back inside. There was no chance she'd take my truck. It wasn't in poor condition or anything. She simply refused to set foot in it. Her fancy Mercedes was her vehicle of choice. I wondered if she was heading to the play with her boyfriend. It'd be intriguing to see who picked her up. 10 minutes later, my sigh echoed when Anuba pulled up to get her. Standing in the driveway a few moments later, a car full of kids rolled up, and my girls hopped in without a goodbye. I spent the evening diving into divorce laws, learning that things might not be too dire for me. The highlight? As Erin made over twice my income, I'd pay reduced child support and she'd owe me alimony. The best part, while child support would end in a couple of years, alimony would continue on as per the state's online calculator I used. The following morning, I stuck to my routine and took a shower, though the day held no particular plans. I decided on breakfast at the diner and a trip to the Sox game. It stung, knowing we'd have gone as a family if it weren't for their betrayal. The girls used to adore the Sox and attending their games. Seated at the bar in the restaurant, I greeted Melody's cheerful face emerging from the kitchen with a pot of coffee. "Hey there, Billy. What's happening today?" she inquired with a smile. "Divorce," I deadpanned as she put my coffee. "Are you serious?" I nodded. "Sorry to hear that, Bill. Divorce is rough, believe me." I shrugged and took a sip of the scorching brew. "Mind if I ask what happened?" "My wife and daughters decided I wasn't what they wanted anymore. I'm a garbage man and I embarrassed them in their own words. Turns out my wife's on the lookout for my replacement without telling me." "I'm sorry, Bill. Excuse me while I refill the cups." Watching her walk away, I couldn't help but notice her perfect posture again. "I'm Lucy," a voice chirped, coming from the little girl I'd seen the day before. She beamed as she climbed onto the adjacent barstool-style chair. "Mama says I can't talk to strangers, so you have to tell me your name." Then you won't be a stranger anymore. I chuckled and replied, knowing my name doesn't make me any less of a stranger, princess, but I won't hurt you. I'm Bill. She gripped her glass of water with both hands, putting the straw to her lips. The glass looked massive in her little hands, reminding me of my own daughter's. I'd wanted chocolate milk, but Mama says it's not good for me. Mama's right. Melody arrived with my breakfast, gently admonishing Lucy. Lucy, please don't bother the customers. I don't want any trouble. She's no bother, I reassured with a smile. It's nice to have some cheerful company. Once a piece of bacon, Lucy, I offered. She beamed and nodded vigorously. Sliding the side plate to her, she seized a piece, as if it were the last one on earth. I chuckled as she popped the whole thing into her mouth. Easy there, kiddo. It's not going anywhere. She giggled and hopped off the stool to explore elsewhere. What's on your mind? Melody inquired as I observed her daughter's boundless energy. Just thinking about my goals, I can't fathom how they could do this to me. I pulled out the details. How my goals were embarrassed to have me at their games. How Maria didn't want me to meet her boyfriend. And how my wife was grooming my replacement. I felt utterly screwed. Melody touched my shoulder, asking, Are you okay? I will be. I'm just second-guessing the whole divorce thing. Maybe she'll change her mind and not leave me. Sounds like she ain't worth having back. I was taken aback by the edge in her voice. Probably not, but I don't have any better options. No line of women beating down my door. She laughed. Bill, you won't be dating for a while. You can't just leap from one woman to another. It doesn't work like that in real life. I knew she was right. It was foolish of me to worry about finding Aaron's replacement immediately after ending things. She turned my face to meet hers. Look, you seem like a good guy. Hell, my daughter talked to you. It took her 3 days to talk to my boss. She must see your positives. I chuckled. You probably don't notice it because you're so devoted to that woman, but there are women checking you out right now. You're a handsome guy and in decent shape. If you dressed a little less like an old farmer, you'd be a hell of a catch. Old farmer, I'd whined. She laughed again, a sound I was starting to appreciate. Yep, John Deere, hot tartan. White t-shirt with a pocket. Old jeans. Hell, you even have a red handkerchief sticking out of your back pocket. I raised my eyebrows at that. What? She chirped. You think you're the only one who checks out people's butts. Come on, eat up. She walked away to tend to her tables, at least sparing my grass-stained, stereotypical, mean-worthy dad gym shoes. You know the ones, New Balance specials. After a few minutes, my coffee got refilled. It didn't take 2 bites of my breakfast for Lucy to sidle back onto the stool beside me. Mama said I have to leave you alone. You don't want me to leave you alone, do you? I laughed and handed her another piece of bacon. No, princess, you can talk to me. Why are you eating by yourself? Don't you have little kids? She asked. I forced a smile and replied, I used to. But they're older now. Someone to eat with their dad would just be boring for them. Don't you give them bacon? I chuckled and replied, absolutely. But they grew up on me. What? They're more into yogurt these days. She scrunched up her nose, exclaiming, You! Gross. Finishing the last of my biscuits and gravy with a sigh, I said, Well, princess, I'll catch you later. Leaving already, Melody appeared behind us. Yeah, off to the ball game and a quick stop at Home Depot, if I answered. Sounds like fun. I've never been to a game, she remarked. Oh yeah. It's kids' day today. When my girls were little, we'd go all the time. They used to get so hyped running the bases. It was hard to get them off the field. Cool, she said. Have a... I couldn't believe it, but the words tumbled out of my mouth. Want to come along? I was surprised. I hadn't even thought before asking. No, we couldn't do that. It's... Come on, Mama, please. I want to run on the field. Lucy chimed in. Do you know how to run the bases? I inquired. She nodded enthusiastically. Yep. I played t-ball last year. I was on the Bears. I glanced at Melody with a smile. Well, Mom, what do you say? Gained at 1. We've got plenty of time. She hesitated, biting her lip, but eventually said, Okay. I'll be done here at 11 when the lunch girl arrives. You're sure it's no trouble? Absolutely. Lucy started clapping in excitement. I'll swing by to pick you up at 11 then. Settling the bill and bidding farewell to Al, I couldn't wipe the grin off my face. But what in the world was I doing? Entering the garage, I dropped off my Home Depot bags on the workbench. Erin's car was absent, but I brushed it off. I pulled on my old Paul Kanako jersey and located my trusty, well-worn Sox hat, the same outfit I wore to every game with the girls. "Daddy, are we going to the game?" Maria asked. "Nope, I'm going to the game." "What do you mean?" "You're going without us," she protested. "That's right." Donning my hat, I left her standing in the hallway, baffled by the sudden change. As I backed out of the driveway, I spotted Erin pulling up. She humped and waved, but I drove past, ignoring her. Moments later, my phone rang. "Yes," I answered on speaker. "What's gotten into you lately?" Erin rumbled. "I'm not sure what you mean. Why aren't you taking us to the game?" I chuckled. I figured I should get used to doing things without you and the girls. There was a prolonged silence before I ended the call. I chose to ignore her when she called, disregarding her messages. Mostly just call me or you're being an ass. It was ironic. Yes, I was being an ass. But she was the one leaving me. Emotionally, I detached myself, knowing our relationship was over. I couldn't stay with someone like her. The lingering thought of her always seeking an upgrade nagged at me. At 11, I stepped into the restaurant and found Lucy at the bar, finishing off a basket of fries smothered in ketchup. Looks like someone enjoys ketchup. I quit as I sat next to her. She grinned, her lips smeared with a red condiment. "Hi, Bill." Melody called from the bathroom area, walking over. "We're ready. I just wanted her to have a little something so she wouldn't want too much at the park. I know how pricey things can get." "Yeah, ballpark prices keep rising. Death and taxes are the only certainties in life. She's young enough to get in free and our tickets are only $10, so not too bad on Family Day." "Family Day?" Melody inquired. "I thought you said Kids Day." "Yeah, they changed the name. When my girls were younger, it was always Kids Day." "I know what you're thinking." "I'm not trying to." She cut me off. "Don't worry about it. I know it's not a date. You're still married and trying to find some bit of happiness. I don't mind us being the beneficiaries of that." Wiping Lucy's mouth, she smiled at me. "Shall we get going?" During the drive to the stadium, I learned more about her life. She'd been married to a habitual drinker who couldn't hold a job. Fed up with his lies, she left. He barely saw Lucy due to unpaid child support. I felt sorry for the little girl. No child should miss their father. Moving to the area to live with her parents as she rebuilt her life, waiting tables was her first job. But she aimed to find work closer to her previous administrative assistant role. Unfortunately, luck wasn't on her side. At 31, she was younger than me, but carried a maturity only motherhood, divorce, and tough times could cultivate. The game passed without much excitement. Little Lucy impressively finished off 2 hot dogs and a Coke, her first soda ever, judging by her reaction. In the 7th inning, we queued up for Lucy's turn to run the bases. The line was long, but she'd have a chance. The team's mascot kept the kids entertained, much to the parents' relief. Surprisingly, I spotted Jack Dorsey, the little lead director from our hometown, with his kids. We invited them to join us in line, and I made introductions. "Jack, meet my friend Melody and her daughter Lucy." Just so we're clear, I'm not stepping out on Erin. We're simply catching a ball game together. With my girls all grown up, I don't get to attend many games these days. Jack chuckled. "I totally get it. Thankfully, I still got a little one. This will be Junior's last year in this league. He turns 14 soon. Looks like I might need to find someone to borrow a kid from, too." We shared a laugh. "Huh. Bill, listen. If you're looking for something to keep you involved with kids, we need a T-ball coach this season. Art Daly retired and moved to Florida." "Oh no, that was Lucy's coach," Melody exclaimed. "Really? Well, at least you'll already know one of the kids on the team, Bill. Give her the thought, and let me know. Registration kicks off in February, so you've got some time if I can't find anyone." I grinned, saying, "You know what? I'm in. Why not?" The prospect of coaching brought a glimmer of happiness, something I sorely needed. "Excellent," Jack replied. "You know the drill from your previous coaching stunt. It hasn't changed. I'll send you the packet and we'll get you squared away." The game came to an end, and it was time for the kids to take their turn running the bases. Lucy's excitement was palpable. Melody seemed to be having a blast, soaking in her daughter's joy and the overall thrill of being at a baseball game. Though our team didn't triumph, we had some promising young players, and I relished that aspect. As we left the parking lot, Lucy had dozed off. Melody remained quiet for most of the ride home, eventually nodding off herself. Since I'd parked at the restaurant and wasn't familiar with their address, I returned there to switch to my truck. When I parked Melody's car, she roused but pretended she hadn't been asleep. "Thanks again, Bill. We had a blast." "Thanks for joining. I had a great time too. And hey, I landed a coaching gig out of it. I'm pretty excited about that." "I hope this doesn't get you in trouble," she expressed. "Taking a single mom to a game might not have been the best idea." I chuckled. Honestly, I couldn't care less. I was going anyway, and having you along made it better. She smiled. "All right, Bill. Thanks again." I helped tuck the sleeping Lucy into her car seat and waved as they drove off. Sighing, I headed back home. I didn't know what to expect, but the crumbling marriage had to meet its end at some point. If I had to confront her and the girls that might, the outcome wouldn't differ from what it would be later. Delaying it would only exacerbate things. Walking into the house, I was met with a cacophony of shouting. The voices meshed into an indistinguishable uproar of yells, screams, and clamor. I let them vent while I grabbed a beer and settled at the kitchen table. Eventually, they ran out of steam and I finally had a chance to speak. "I'll answer all your questions if you answer one for me first." They all agreed. "Why should I care?" Erin snapped. "What do you mean, why should you care? You're my husband and the father of these girls. That's why you should care." I shook my head. "Nope, that's not the right answer. I'll wait until you figure it out." Erin demanded. "I don't know what's gotten into you, but I demand an answer. Why are you acting like this?" "You know perfectly well why I'm acting like this," I said calmly, despite the turmoil inside. "You all know why, yet you keep up this facade. This ends tonight. I'm done. I'm done with you. And though I'll always love you girls, I'll move on from you eventually." Tara started crying. "Mom, look what you've done. You've ruined everything." She dashed out of the room, like he's heading to her room. Maria stood there stunned, while Erin's expression turned sour. I stood up, finishing my beer in a single gulp. Maria asked, "Dad, are you leaving us?" I chuckled. "No, Maria." She flinched at the coldness of using her name instead of terms of endearment. "No, I'm not leaving. You girls and your mother are leaving me. If she wants an upgrade, she can't do it in this tiny matchbox." Erin paled as I echoed her own words back at them. She quickly regained her composure and resumed her attack. "We're not going anywhere, Bill. I'm not trading up and we're not leaving." I sneered. "What? Jason isn't ready yet." Maria turned and walked out. I hoped Erin was prepared to handle that fart. I was surprised that the girls didn't immediately jump on board when the reality of the situation hit them. A glimmer of hope flickered that they might come back to me and abandon their mother's quest for more material things. Erin shot me an intense glare. "Still here? Thought I didn't know about Jason and your plan to upgrade, huh? Get the hell out. The sight of you makes me sick." She left without a word and I watched her drive away without a reaction. I focused on changing the locks, an hour and a half ticking by as I secured the house. Dinner time approached, prompting me to check on the girls. Finding them huddled in Tara's room, their emotional embrace upon seeing me broke my resolve. "Daddy," Tara exclaimed, wrapping me in a tight hug, soon joined by Maria. Daddy was sorry. "We love you. Please don't make us go away." Their tears pierced my heart as they clung to me. "Girls, this is your choice. You're the ones who are ashamed of me and want someone else." "No, Daddy," Maria protested through her tears. "We don't want anyone else." "Perhaps not, but you're hiding things from me. Boyfriends, tennis, you're hiding me from your friends, friends I've coached, driven around, protected. You're ashamed of me now." They continued crying, but I couldn't handle more pain. As I turned to leave, Maria grabbed me, pleading for me to stay. "What do you want from me, Maria?" "What should I say? You're breaking my heart, playing these games." I pushed her away and retreated to my room, locking the door. I struggled with my emotions, torn between forgiving them and the hurt they caused. Eventually, they burst into my room, and we hugged, their tears soaking my shoulders. They were my world, but forgiveness wouldn't come easily. Aaron's plan with Jason hit a snag when he wasn't keen on housing two teenage girls in his bachelor pad. Surprisingly, the divorce process was smooth. Joint custody was agreed upon, and with the girls choosing to stay with me while Aaron left to be with Jason, custody was settled without a fight. Alimony and child support took a chunk out of Aaron's raise from her promotion, but for me, having my girls was everything. The girls didn't lash out at their mother the way I'd hoped. Aaron continued showering them with gifts, even buying a car for them to share. After the court proceedings, I had minimal contact with her so I could engage her feelings. As long as the alimony and child support came through, that was enough. It took months for the girls and me to mend our relationship. They claimed their mother influenced their embarrassment towards me, which I found hard to fully accept. Yet, as they reintroduced me to their boyfriends and handed me sports schedules, I chose to let the past fade. Things seemed to return to normal, but I remained vigilant about their treatment of me. One surprise for the girls was the Satan's account I'd set up for them. Aaron had misled them about college expenses, making it seem like they'd need loans. I revealed the truth. A brokerage account I'd funded since their birth would cover most of their education. Aaron hadn't contested it in the divorce. The day after the final divorce decree arrived, I went to the restaurant to see Melody. We'd shared breakfast weekly but hadn't gone out. I aimed to change that. "Hey there," she greeted, as I settled at the counter. "Hey, it's official, divorce is done." She arched an eyebrow, pouring coffee. "Thought now that I'm single, you might let me take you out." A smile widened, like a date. "Not like a date, a real one," I clarified. "Ah, hesitant about the rebound thing, huh?" she teased. "Maybe I should give you time to." "Stop it. Friday night it is." "No one else gets a shot," she interrupted. I looked at her expectantly. "Do I have something on my face?" "No, but I'll text you my address. I've had your number for all of 3 days, okay? Now, let me get your breakfast," she said with a playful wink, sashaying away. My daughters weren't thrilled about me dating a single mother with a little girl. If jealousy were visible, they have left a trail of green behind them. The Saturday after my first official date with Melody, I invited her and Lucy over for lunch. When I mentioned it to my girls, they had other plans. "Daddy, we had a double date for lunch at a movie on Saturday," Tara complained. I reassured her, "That's fine. You can still go to the movies and dinner. Just join me for lunch, meet Melody and Lucy, and then head out." Tara stomped away, and Maria kissed my cheek. "We'll be here, Dad. Just making sure you're not replacing us." She sauntered off, as if she triumphantly countered some threat they assumed I posed. Their attitude unsettled me, but I tried to shake it off. I got up early, made my barbecue rub, and prepared the ribs and chicken legs. While the ribs cooked slowly, I whipped up my barbecue sauce. I wasn't a pitmaster, but now that I was single, I decided to buy the smoker Aaron had always vetoed. I realized there were a lot of things I denied myself because of her. As I'd prepped potato salad, the doorbell rang. I tried to answer it before my daughters, but they beat me to it. Melody hadn't stepped in before my girls started firing questions at her. "Where do you live? Where do you work? How old are you? Are you divorced?" They wouldn't let her speak. "Girls," Maria and Tara stepped back. "Please," I intervened. Sorry about them, Melody." I glanced at my daughters, puzzled by their behavior. "It's all right, Bill," she replied sweetly. "They're protective in their own way." Her smile was razor sharp. "Anyway," I continued, "this is Tara and Maria." I reached for Lucy's hand, guiding her out from behind her mother's shelter. She glanced up at my scowling daughters and retreated to my side. Their expressions shifted as they saw my disappointment. "Melody," I suggested, "why don't you take Lucy to the kitchen? I'm just about done mixing the potato salad. Maybe she'd like to help stir it." My daughters sculled. Those memories of them stirring things in the kitchen as little girls were resurfacing, driving home the weight of their actions. I wouldn't tolerate them ruining things with Melody, and they feared I might find other companionship options. "Wait," Tara interjected. "I'm sorry for being rude. I guess we're not handling the divorce and you're moving on so easily." I scoffed. "You didn't seem to mind when you knew your mother was trying to trade up and kept it from me." Tara shook her head and bolted up the stairs to her room. Maria sighed. "Come on, Dad. We've apologized for that 100 times." Well, it's pretty awful that you were fine with your mother's actions while she was trying to replace me. But when she divorces me, and I bring someone I like home, you treat her poorly. You can't deal with me moving on, but you could deal with your mother trading up. You know what? This was a mistake. Call your boyfriends to pick you up. I don't want you to ruin our lunch. Melody gasped, and Maria rushed off to her room. I shook my head and slumped into the recliner nearby. I couldn't believe I'd ruptured my relationship with my girls. Maybe we should go, Bill. I looked up, seeing Melody's concern. Lucy hugged me from my lap. But we didn't have the ribs yet, Mama. I smiled at Lucy's innocence. She's right, Melody. We haven't eaten. And regardless of what happened with my daughters, we can still enjoy our lunch. Let's go finish that potato salad. A wave of sadness washed over me. I didn't understand why my daughters acted the way they did. But most of all, I didn't understand why I reacted like that. I realized the pent-up anger and frustration over their silence about their mother's boyfriend hadn't entirely dissipated and had erupted out of control. I assumed my daughters had left since I hadn't heard a peep out of them for the rest of the afternoon. Lucy seemed to devour their share of ribs. She was like a bottomless pit, seemingly swallowing all the food in sight. She especially enjoyed the extra cup of barbecue sauce I gave her. I made a milder version for her since I like mine spicy. To our surprise, she downed the entire cup of sauce, which made us laugh. Melody settled her down for a nap on my bed and joined me in the kitchen for an Arnold Palmer. I don't mean to intrude or ruin our afternoon, Bill, but what happened with your daughters? I thought things had improved between you. I shrugged. I don't really know. I think I might have overreacted. I wanted you guys to meet and at least get along, and when they started bombarding you with questions before even saying hello, it hit a nerve. I didn't expect that from them. It's a tough situation. Meeting a parent's new partner is never easy. Yeah, I get it. It just brought back a flood of memories. The disrespect shutting me out, keeping things hidden. It hit me hard, and I handled it poorly. I'm sure they'll be okay, she said, trying to ease my regret. I heard the front door open and close. I turned to see the girls walking up to their rooms. I'm going to apologize and give them a hug. Excuse me, I requested. Of course, I'll check on Lucy. I kissed her cheek and headed upstairs to try to fix the mess I had contributed to. When I reached Mary's room, she was packing a bag. What's happening, Pumpkin? She looked at me with a glare I never wanted to see again. We're going with Mom. Maria, look, I'm sorry. I got upset when you were giving Melody a hard time, but I didn't mean. Enough, Dad. You were right. You've always been right. We stayed with you because Mom's new guy wasn't sure if we could all live together. They have a new house now, with rooms for both of us. It's time we joined Mom, like we planned. I stood there in disbelief. Could it really be true? Had it all been an act? God, she sighed. You have no idea how hard it's been pretending for you while Mom sorted everything out. I pleaded, please no, baby, don't. She breezed past me, and I felt paralyzed. I struggled to move, to go after her, but it was as if my feet were glued to the floor. Then Tara's voice cut through the silence. You should just let us go. It's better that way. I hope your girlfriend and her kid were worth it. We could have had some sort of relationship after we moved to Mom's, but now. I was still in shock when Melody intervened. I think that's enough, don't you? Tara scoffed. Whatever. Enjoy your time in this tiny house. I'm sure it's a step up from wherever you came from. The door slammed, and finally, I could move. I turned to see Melody sitting on my bed, gently stroking Lucy's hair as she slept. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say, I murmured as I entered the room. Melody simply shrugged, a tear escaping down her cheek. I can't believe they've been lying this whole time. I was just a stand-in until her mother could take them away, I explained. Sitting beside Melody, she rested her head on my shoulder. That was unlike anything I've ever seen, Bill. I can't fathom what's going on in the heads. I guess you probably don't want anything to do with me now, I sighed. She lifted her head and kissed my cheek. Nothing that happened changes how I feel about you. I wanted a good relationship with your daughters, but I'm not going anywhere. Their mother's influence is in all this. I didn't raise them this way. I feel devastated. I've lost them, I lamented. Maybe you have. Maybe you haven't. The future's uncertain, Bill. Don't shut the door. One day they might come back when they realize what they'd given up to, she comforted. I sighed deeply, feeling like there was no hope they'd return. 3 days later, my lawyer informed me Erin was filing for changes in custody. Since the girls were with her, she wanted child support and custody. I asked my lawyer to handle it. At that point, I didn't want to see any of them. Melody and I continued to build our relationship. After 6 months, she landed an administrative assistant job, boosting her confidence significantly. We were living together in my house and planning to get married in her hometown in a few months. Lucy was a ball of energy. Despite a small size, sometimes she acted like a teenager. One evening, while Melody and I were cooking dinner, Lucy strolled into the kitchen. "Mr. Bill, there's a girl swinging on my swings," Lucy told me with surprise, pulling my attention away from the meal we were preparing. I hurried to the back door, and there on the swings was my daughter Tara, softly swaying back and forth. I was caught off guard. It had been so long since I'd heard from either of them after they left, ripping my heart out in the process. Melody's hand rested on my shoulder. "Go to her, Bill. Something doesn't seem right." A surge of anger coursed through me like lightning. The idea that someone might have harmed one of my daughters was unbearable. The sliding door made a loud noise as it opened. Tara had her back to us and tried to flee upon hearing the sound. "Tara, wait," I called out. She ignored me, rushing away. By the time I reached the front of the house, her car was already screeching down the street. I felt Lucy take my hand and ask, "Was that your mean daughter?" I lifted her up and replied, "They weren't always mean, Lucy. Once upon a time, they were just as sweet as you are." Melody inquired, "What was that all about?" "I don't know, honey, but something doesn't seem right, and I need to go check it out." I bid them farewell with a kiss and drove across town to my ex-wife's home. Throughout the drive, my adrenaline surged and anger surged like bile in my throat. If seeing red were a real thing, I'd been blinded by it. I screeched to a stop in front of their lavish house in the upscale neighborhood. Tara's car was in the driveway, and the front door was wide open. As I approached the door, I heard yelling from inside. I entered the house and saw Maria in tears on the couch, while my ex-wife was screaming at Tara. The jerk she was with was nowhere to be seen. "Stop lying, you spoiled brat," my ex-wife barked as I walked in. Maria spotted me and rushed over. "Daddy!" She embraced me tightly, and I struggled to return the hug. Tara bolted to her room, and Erin glared at me. "What the hell are you doing here, Bill?" She spat with narrowed, angry eyes. "I want to know what's happening with my girls." "Oh, are they your girls now? Not a word for months, and suddenly you want to play daddy again. Well, screw you, garbage man." I held Maria at arm's length, gripping her shoulders. "What's going on, Maria?" "Nothing," Erin yelled. "Go back to your Fauci and let me handle my daughters." Tara descended the stairs, clutching her phone and looking frightened. Maria said to Tara, "Show him." She handed me the phone with a video ready to play. I was stunned to see undeniable proof that Jason was spying on them. Rage surged through my muscles, every fiber tensing. I returned the phone to Tara and fixed my gaze on Erin. "It's all an innocent mistake, Bill." "She's overreacting," Erin insisted. "Pumpkin, how many times did he do it before you recorded him?" I asked, trying to keep my tone steady. "3, she solved," Erin retorted. "Stop lying." I opened my arms and Tara rushed into them, weeping against my chest. "Girls," I said as calmly as possible, "go pack a bag. You're coming home with me." To my surprise, they bolted upstairs. I could only hope they were following my instructions. I couldn't leave my daughters with that predator. I fixed a hard stare on Erin. "I suppose Tara told you about this, and you didn't believe her. That's why she started recording her showers." "It's just misunderstanding. He thought it was me in the shower." "Were you at home when she recorded that video?" She dropped her gaze, then lifted it defiantly. "Yes." Before I could respond, the jerk walked through the door. Well, the garbage man came a day early. I whirled around and landed a punch square on his nose. Every ounce of rage I'd felt over the last half hour poured out in that blow. He crumpled to the floor, blood staining their beige carpet. On calling the police, Erin screeched, "You've made the biggest mistake of your life, you son of a..." I smiled at her, raising my eyebrows and nodding in agreement. She understood instantly, glancing at the jerk writhing on the floor, and ended the call. "What? You don't want the police here, Erin?" Why not? I challenged. Just leave, she nearly whispered. I pivoted, observing Alan slowly getting to his feet, blood dripping profusely. He made a move and squared off with me, trying to stand the blood flow with his shirt. For a brief moment I pondered how hard Justin Tucker had to kick the ball for the NFL record, but I went for it. As the top of my foot met his groin, he actually dipped it off the ground. The mix of shock and agony on his face was a sight to behold. I wished I had a camera to capture that moment. It would have made a great mantelpiece. Erin screamed and rushed to him. My daughters came up behind me, taking hold of my arms. Take us home, Daddy, Tara requested. Erin whirled around, her words laced with finality. If you go with him, don't bother coming back. This is it. Tara's eyes ignited with anger, and she slapped Erin. Goodbye, Mother. As we drove, I inquired, did he ever harm either of you? No, they chorused. Maria, did he ever walk in on you? Yes, she admitted, her head hung low in the rearview mirror. Why didn't you lock the door? I probed. The lock's broken, and the only other shower is in their bedroom. We're not allowed to use it. Why did you run from me at home, Tara? I wanted your help so much, but after what we did to you, I couldn't ask, she sobbed. Her words came out in stutters, tears mixing with her words. I couldn't. I thought you'd say no, and I'd be on my own. A tear rolled down my cheek. How had things gotten so bad that she believed I would turn her away a moment like that? I will always help you, no matter what. You two will always be my goals. Got it. I affirmed. Maria added, but you have that little girl now. You don't. Lucy hasn't replaced you in my heart. She's part of it. But she'll never take your place. Never. That night was full of tears. Melody welcomed them with open arms, and they walked right in. The pain wasn't erased that evening, but it was the start of healing. Eventually, I got my girls back. Epilogue. When Alan left the hospital the next day, the local police were waiting for him. Tara had initially been hesitant to involve the authorities, but with our support, she found the courage to show the video to the police. Together with Maria's accusations and proof from Erin's bank showing she was at work during the video, it was the end for Alan. In our state, peeping is a misdemeanor with a maximum sentence of 6 months if the intent is proven. But because Maria was under 16 and Alan was over 21, he could face up to 10 years and be registered as a sex offender if convicted. The video Tara provided was crucial evidence, and some legal loopholes allowed it to be admissible, since they were victims of a repeated crime. He received a 10-year sentence for Maria, and 6 months for Tara. Erin didn't show up for the trial, and the girls wouldn't see her for nearly a decade. Maria was the first to get married. As we strolled down the church aisle for photos, Erin sat alone at the back. They reconnected, but any semblance of a family relationship was gone. Soon after realizing their birth mother prioritized her own interests over them, they began calling Melody Mom. It's regrettable, but when you throw trouble into a whirlwind, it's bound to swirl back in your face. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Until next time, I'll see you again. Take care.